Heat are down 4. Tyler Hero throwing it up. Bam Adebayo plus the foul. How about Bam? 21 points, 10 boards. Here's another. Later in the third, Heat down 1. It's Adebayo again. Heat by 1. They trail by as many as 17. Adebayo had 15 points himself in the third quarter. To the fourth we go. 4 minutes to go. Heat down 3. Jimmy Butler. Oh, look at the effort by Butler. And then he gets it back. Rewarded on the other end. He would score just 14 on this night, but was all over the floor doing things like that. The save, reestablish inbounds. That's a good dish. Heat within 1. A minute and a half to go. Celtics are down 5 now, and they're falling apart. Marcus Smart, that's thrown away. Butler, Crowder, yes. Butler 3 steals in clutch time. Heat a 7-point lead. Under a minute to go. Celtics are down 6. Oh, they desperately need a bucket. Where are you going to go? Jaylen Brown for 3. That's good. He had 21. They're within 3. After a turnover, Celtics with a chance to tie. That's a good look for Brown in the corner, but no good. And Adebayo gets the rebound, and the Heat get the win. 106-101. They take a 2-0 lead in the series. And after the game was over, our Malika Andrews reporting, quote, Marcus Smart is screaming at someone in the Celtics locker room, or several people. The yelling continues as Smart exits the locker room swearing. There were loud clanks like someone throwing items coming from the Celtics locker room. That's the reporting. Here's what the Celtics had to say about what happened.
A lot of emotions was flying around. Obviously, we feel like we could have won, should have won, and we didn't. So just a lot of emotions flying around. That's it.
We 0-2. We frustrated, but that's team sports. You're not supposed to be happy we down 0-2, but nothing out the ordinary. Just talking about the game. It's cool. Gotta get ready for the next one.
So here they are. The odd couple is back with me, Kendrick Perkins and Zach Lowe. Always a pleasure, guys. Kendrick, you know about the pressure of postseason basketball. How big a deal should we make about it if players are yelling and things are getting thrown around in a locker room after a tough loss?
Well, it should be a big deal. But Granny, listen. The Celtics right now, they're showing up to the arena in a cute and sassy style of play. Right, they got their Versace robes on and Versace slippers and Gucci slippers with their Louis Vuitton swimming trunks. And right now, the Miami Heat are showing up in their Nomex and they steel-toe boots, and they're ready for action, and they're grinding it out. The Celtics are playing so selfish offensively. They are playing my-turn basketball. Kimber comes down. Let me show y'all what I got. I got a crossover to a step back. Then Jayson Tatum, oh, you got that, but let me show you what I got in my bag. I got the side step 3-point shot. Then all of a sudden you see Jaylen Brown. Oh, let me show you I could do something too. I got a one-legged turnaround off the baseline. That is selfish play offensively by the Celtics, and defensively, they have lost their identity. Last night, I wanted to call Bam out of the bayou Bam O'Neal. He had so many dunks, he was just snatching the screws out the rim. Where is the Celtics' #1 defense that they've been leading in these playoffs? It has disappeared. They have lost their defensive identity.
Zach, I was listening to your podcast, the Low Post podcast, and you were talking about the pressure of the bubble and the pressure that all these guys are under and how impressive it will be ultimately for whoever it is that wins. But is it possible that what we're seeing there is a little bit of the pressure getting to the Celtics?
I think the pressure of the bubble is getting to every team. I mean, there's mental stress, there's mental anxiety, except the Heat, who are acting like they might as well play all their home games in the bubble. They seem to love the bubble more than American Airlines Arena. It's incredible. I think the Celtics, I think for the Celtics, this is about the frustration of losing 2 games that were there for them and knowing now that their back's against the wall. But to Perk's point, the Celtics are out of rhythm on offense, and I think there's a tendency to say, well, it's bad coaching. Why are they going one-on-one? I think we have to give a lot of credit to the Heat. Number one, their zone defense has totally taken Boston out of its rhythm. And number two, when you have a center in Bam Adebayo who can switch onto any player in the NBA and guard them well, your pick and roll attack becomes much harder to execute. You get stuck in the mud. So yeah, Boston's stuck in the mud, but I think Miami deserves a lot of credit for that. And the pressure's on Boston and the pressure's on Brad Stevens to come with some counters to that zone defense, because you better believe they're seeing 30, 40 possessions of it in Game 3.
Zach, the Heat have played 11 games in the bubble. They've not yet lost any of them in regulation. They're 10-1, and their only loss came in overtime in the game that Giannis got hurt when they were already up 3-0 in that series. Zach Lowe, what do we say about this Miami Heat team that right now seems to be on a collision course with an NBA Finals?
They're playing remarkable basketball on both ends of the floor. Their offense has been sneakily elite all year, top 6, 7 in the league, and their defense is catching up. And I think, I wrote this yesterday for .com, it's one of the most remarkable quick fix transformations in the history of the NBA. I mean, 2 years ago, this was a team that was in 500 territory every single year since LeBron left, basically. Their cap sheet was clogged with a bunch of bad contracts. They had traded 2 first-round picks for Goran Dragic, so they didn't have a ton of trade assets. It looked like they were dead in the water, but they're the Miami Heat. That means something to players around the NBA. It meant something to Jimmy Butler. He picked them, and in the meantime, their front office with the 14th pick, the 13th pick, and then no draft picks at all with the undrafted free agents, built a capable supporting cast, got a star, a flat-out star in Bam Adebayo. It's an unbelievable story.
Perk, real quick, is this over? Do you think the Heat can the Celtics come back? They're down 2-0?
I'm not calling it a sweep, but this is dead bird tall grass. The Miami Heat is not going to let up. Eric Spoelstra is the best coach in the bubble right now. Yes, I'm saying it. The way that he's mixing it up and throwing out those different defensives, and the way that he's putting these guys in position offensively to be successful. Think about this. In Game 1, Greeny, he had 32 assists. Last night in Game 2, they had 28 assists. They are moving the ball well. They're shooting the three, and they are owning the Celtics in the paint.
All right, outstanding. Guys, we'll bring you back a little bit later. We'll talk more about this game and look ahead.
And by 5. Celtics have had double-digit leads in each of the 2 losses to the Heat. Overall, they've lost 4 times this postseason when leading by double figures. We saw that trip up the Clippers, obviously, in a big way. Boston's led by double digits for a total of 18-46 this series. Meanwhile, the Heat's largest lead is 8, and the Celtics' frustration is palpable. Here's Brad Stevens.
Guys were emotional after a hard game, hard loss.
Tim Bontemps. Brad, what happened in the third quarter?
We pulled apart, and we didn't play well. And they did a good job. We're not beating this team if we're not completely connected on both ends of the court. So got to get back to being that, which we've been at times, but right now they're a better team, and we're going to have to fight to get back into this series.
Sounds like it got heated. Malik Andrews from the Bubble will join us a little bit later with more reporting on that. We get to welcome in a man who's now officially a teammate, man. It feels great to say that, Vince Carter. Welcome to the squad. You make us better immediately. And we talked to Tim Legler about that zone in the second half. I wonder what you saw in terms of its impact. How did it change the game?
Scott, shout out to the coach. Coach Spoelstra is like, he one thing he said, he's like, we're not playing well, and some people talk about a scheme. Well, he's going off a feel, and he could feel in the first half, Kemba Walker was rolling. He was getting it done, and he was getting anything he wanted, and you don't want a guy like Kemba Walker to get going. So what does he do? He comes out with a zone defense, and he just wanted to junk up the game. Well, after junking up the game and seeing it works, well, let's stick with it. And Leg said it. We're just going to ride this until it doesn't work anymore. And that's what he started to do, and they got back into it. They started hitting shots. The third quarter was Bam. Bam was rolling 15 points in the third quarter. And, of course, you can't – I mean, what Duncan Robinson was doing, and he spread the floor, opened things up for somebody like Bam to get easy rolls to the basket. The lob was there and there. You're saying, how come somebody is not stepping up? Well, you can't step up if somebody like Duncan Robinson is shooting lights out like he was.
You played every role in the league, right? From superstar to the old head that could teach some of the young guys. But as you watch a guy like Jimmy Butler is a star that doesn't have to, I just asked Duncan about it, doesn't have to hunt shots, doesn't really care if he gets shots, and then makes so many winning plays. When you talk about culture, which frankly I think is an overused word, but when you talk about culture, how much does Butler reflect what Miami is about?
Well, let me say this. First of all, that's a gift. All the time. You want to get your guys involved early. Get them going, because if they're rolling, if Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero are shooting threes and you have to stay home on them, well, guess what Jimmy gets to do in the second half and or the fourth quarter? Take over and take all the shots that he needs. So the culture there is understood. Jimmy Butler brings his style, but he walks in understanding the Miami Heat culture. They pass the ball, they play one way, they play hard, and that's what Coach Spoelstra said. He said we weren't playing hard in the effort. It's not the scheme, it's the effort. So he put in the zone defense in the third quarter, and they brought the effort on both ends.
Well, Vince, I'm just happy you're on our squad, man, because you're a free agent. Everybody wanted you, so I'm happy to have you along, and I look forward to talking more throughout the remainder of the playoffs. All right?
Absolutely. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, Vince Carter. Malik Andrews, by the way, with more on that story from the Boston locker room, which obviously was pretty passionate. We do your research on the Heat. Less than 2 minutes to go in the first half, down 17, matching their largest postseason comeback in franchise history, along with a 17-point comeback against the Thunder in the finals, 2012. That was Game 4. And the deficit was entirely erased in the third quarter alone. And in fact, they led by outscoring the Celtics 37-17. Second time they've outscored a team by 20 and a quarter these playoffs. Also did that Game 3 of their series against the Bucks. And what a night from Duncan Robinson, who you heard from a little bit earlier. His third game with at least 6 threes, carried the Heat in that department as the rest of the team. How about 9:40 start times every night, Steve?
Works.
Get out and explore the city. Feel like explore the space. All right, hey, welcome. This is SportsCenter. Scott Van Pelt from Washington, D.C. Heat up 2-0. We're with you until 11 o'clock Eastern time. It was a tale of 2 halves. Looked like Boston was going to try to run away quarter, and that has been the story for the Celtics in the postseason. They've been outscored in the third quarter in 8 of the 9 postseason games. The last 9, I should say, and the point differential here from Game 1 to Game 2 was the story. But again, as we saw, it was a coin flip late, and now Miami has a 2-0 lead in the Eastern Conference Finals. And Tim Legler stops by. And Tim, as you and I are talking here, watching this game, I'd like to leave you by yourself to just do your job. But as I come in and we talk, and you point out, what did the Heat do out of nowhere that turned this game?
Yeah, so I talk about the Heat zone defense all the time. They probably play it on a given night in the regular season when I watch them, Scott, 30% of the game.
Okay.
I didn't see